I was at Christian Revival in Atlanta for women, and I was there with my church, and I had been studying spiritual warfare with a wonderful pastor who was there with me, and um, the leader of the revival was from Texas, and it was during the election, and he brought George W. Bush in by monitor. George Bush was running for president at the time. And the whole crowd stood up cheering for George W. Bush. And one of the interesting things about this wonderful pastor was she had worked at the DEA. And there was nothing about drug running and allegations of drug running by the Bush family and the Clinton family that she didn't know. And in fact, her son, I think, had been shot at in a drive-by shooting the week before. So there was nothing about sort of drugs and corruption in this country that she was a very knowledgeable person. So she and everyone, 100,000 African American women stood up cheering for George W. Bush, including my pastor. And I said to her, wait a minute, I just lost my fortune. I almost lost my life trying to stop and bring transparency to narcotics trafficking, including that alleged by the Bushes. And you never jumped up cheering for me, but you just jumped up cheering for him. And she said, well, he's going to be the winner. And I said, so he's a winner and I'm a loser? And she said, yeah, that's right. And that's what focused me on this issue of who are we supporting? The people who are killing us or the people who are trying to stop the people who are killing us? And that's when I realized, this is a problem. Because in America, everybody wants to support the winner. And right now is, if you're the banks and you just stole $27 trillion, you're the winner. One of the challenges we have re-engineering the federal budget is we have lost a culture of every constituent and every party in the play feeling an obligation to optimize the whole. And one of the stories that I always tell to describe that was I was having dinner in the mid-90s with a congressman from Texas, and we were in the congressional dining room. He couldn't leave the Capitol because he needed to vote. He was on the Appropriation Committee, and there was an appropriation bill coming through. And he was literally in the middle of the sentence, and the bell rang, and he had to jump off to go vote. And, was going to come back as soon as he voted to finish. He jumped up in the middle of the sentence and turned to go run to make the vote, and then spun around and looked at me, and he said, let's face it, sweetie, I'm only here to protect my shit. And then off he went. And there it was. It was we're in a situation where everybody is pushing as hard as possible for their dollar, but nobody's thinking about how do we make the pie as big as possible. And of course, now we're in a downward spiral.